So here we are again, inspired yet again. So really enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, and I hope that's coming across. The balloons, by the way, is my son's 10th birthday today, which is fantastic. Happy birthday, Finn! If you ever get to see this video, um, yeah, really inspired today. It's basically around what I've been doing on these videos, what I've been reading, and what I've been watching in terms of there's a couple of things on YouTube I'm following at the moment. And I wanted to talk about this particular thing. Okay, so the idea or the title for this video is "You Are a Superhero." No, you're not. It's that kind of idea that I've been thinking about, where we get these big ideas, and then almost instantly, and particularly with some people, it's an almost instant, yeah, but you're not. It's that kind of idea that there's this resistance to you being more than the tribe want you to be. So it's this buying into the big lie almost instantly, that when you want to do something, or you want to develop, or you want to move, or you want to change, there's always this little voice that just goes, yeah, but actually you're not really, are you? And it's that convincing tone that you just kind of like, oh, you kind of buy into. And it's the same when you're learning something new, or as I say, you want to make a change in your life. Then this little voice just pops in, and before long, it takes over, and it sort of convinces you that you're not really going to be doing this. And I think that's what I want to talk about in this particular video. You know, if you look at the body, the way the body is hardwired, we've got this, and it's documented everywhere, this fight or flight response. These are the times when you really need to make a choice that is beneficial to you. And I think what happens is sometimes that we use this fight or flight response too much. So we sort of almost build in to our lives, things become more life and death, and it's basically, oh, well, if I don't do this particular thing, then this will happen, and all of a sudden it becomes bigger than it is. If I don't get the job, or I don't pass this interview, then we're all going to suffer, and I'm going to have no money, and I'm going to have no food, and we're not going to live, and so it becomes this huge thing. So we use this fight or flight response a little bit too much, and then it becomes this illusion that you live under, that everything is a drama. So I think basically, you get small doses of this fight or flight, this diluted fight or flight response, and that causes stress in your life. So the idea of being a superhero in this video is working on the superhero within you, because I think we all have this ability to be fantastic, and yet if you buy into the big lie that you're limited, then we all become, I suppose, part of the big tribe that's just bumbling along through life. And that's really where I'm sort of resisting now. And I'm resisting the resistance, if you like, the resistance of this little voice that says, well, actually, you're not really going to do that, are you? So I think, it's very much a case of that. The other part of this is that I don't want it to come across that we need to be one of these, these deep people that is becoming a little bit, so people can't access them, or they become so out on the fringe that everything, is just has a deep and meaningful idea around it. Hey, wow, you got coffee. Wow, a coffee cup. It's not that. It's working on your inner depths, working on your inner superhero. I think basically, if you take the analogy of, say, the ocean, in the shallows, there's not an awful lot going on, but go out into the deeper ocean, and there's a whole manner of things going on, and there's a lot more content. And I think it's working on those kind of depths that I'm talking about here, working on your superhero. I think with In the shallows, nothing is going. So in a shallow mind, you're going to have shallow issues. If that makes any sense. I mean, it's like these arbitrary conversations that you can sometimes get into, about the weather, or someone will say, "Hi, wasn't it sunny today?" Yes, it was sunny today, but it wasn't sunny yesterday. No, it's not sunny yesterday, but it is today. You've just wasted all that time, I suppose, in some respects, where you could be having a little bit more of a meaningful conversation. You're just making noises, in a conversation. Communication is one of our key features of being human, and yet you hear these conversations on the train or the bus or wherever, and it kind of makes me smile. That's not to say that people aren't interested in the weather, or they aren't interested in the shallower subjects of their life. I think what happens is they're a bit. Sometimes we get a bit horrified to go deeper. Some people are a bit more horrified that what they'll discover when they have a thought about how they really feel. You know what it's like. You go into work, or you'll go into a conversation with someone and say, "Hey, how are you?" And they'll say, "Well, I'm fine." "Oh, are you fine?" "Yeah, I'm fine." And it's just like very, very pale. And I think what they're doing is they're a bit horrified to access their soul a little bit more. And I think you get much more out of a conversation if you are talking around these bigger issues, I suppose, sometimes. As I say, that's not to put an idea on this that we all have to be very deep and meaningful. We just have to be able to access that. And I think by working on your superhero and working on these inner strengths, then when you're actually called upon to be of value or of use in a certain situation, or you've got to make a larger, bigger decision, then you have that strength. That strength is already there. And in terms of serving, which is really what now I feel as though I'm becoming, I'm looking forward to serving in any way I can. I want to be serving from a valuable place, from a heart-centered space rather than a head space. I think when people operate from a head space, they're looking for they're thinking in erroneous ways. So they're basically looking for they're seeking approval. If I do this, then they'll give me love, or if I do that, they'll give me a bit more attention. Or if I do that, they'll do this. And that's more of a headspace kind of thought process. And I think the more that you go into the deeper part of yourself and come from a heart-centered space, I think you basically are developing that superhero. So I think this is what this superhero thing is. It's not a case of saying, "Look at me, I can wear short, pants over my trousers, and I got this emblem on my chest." It really isn't that. It's more a case of, because that's an external thing. I think it's more a case of when you get into a situation where there is real stuff, real issues, then you can be of value to somebody in a particular situation. So I think we need to attend to our superhero. We need to believe in ourselves a little bit more. And when this little voice comes along and says, "No, you're not actually all that," then you just put that to one side and say, "Actually, do you know what? That's external. That's not me." It's more of an internal journey, and I think it's really important that I get that across in terms of what I'm trying to say here. And it works in lots of different ways. I mean, there's a glorious piece by Marianne Williamson who talks about this in one of her books. I think it was called A Return to Love. And she will say, how often do we ignore that, that little voice that's really telling us the right thing to do, rather than this disempowering belief. So, you'll say, "Well, I want to go on vacation." And she says, the voice says, "Minneapolis." And you go, "No, I don't really think you understand. It's cold in Minneapolis." Minneapolis. You go, "Yeah, but I want to have a really good vacation in Minneapolis." And then later on, you meet your soulmate, and they said, "We should have met a couple of years ago, and I was at a conference in Minneapolis, but you didn't turn up." So we've got to listen to this voice and see if it is life affirming or life denying. And I think, if we're buying into this negative "you're not good enough" idea, then you will just go with that. But I think, working on your superhero is an internal journey, so that when you are called upon, then you are going to be of use and you're going to serve in a really wonderful way.